Alright guys, so there's some pretty important news right now that I got to put out here. I almost want to say red alert, but we're not there yet. We will be, but we're not there yet. Basically, yesterday, the 13th of February 2011, there was actually an X-class flare that popped off the sun. It was facing the Earth, and I'm not sure what day it's supposed to hit us, so the next couple of days or something, I'm not sure. It was the lower X-class flare on the scale, and I think for the most part it goes into the 20s, like an X20 something would be severe, and an X1 or X2 or X3 wouldn't be as severe. But the X flare or the X series or class, whatever, is the last one. It's the most powerful of all types. There's A, B, C's, and then M, as in Mike, and then there's X. So A, B, C, M, X. When you start getting into the X's, there's definitely cause for concern. The largest one, apparently, that I've ever been able to find, I know there was the one in the 1800s, and that one took out like the entire telegraph system back then, and that was really the only thing that was around to really be taken out as far as electronically speaking. Aside from that, and it was down for weeks and weeks and weeks from what I understand, maybe months. Trying to find that. I had it up here a minute ago. Yeah, I'm going to read this to you real quick. On November 4th, 2003, the biggest flare explosion ever recorded erupted from the surface of the sun. It did us no harm, but could a solar flare one day destroy all life on the planet? ? Okay. Biggest flare ever known. November 4th, 2003 is the most powerful ever seen. This measured a colossal X28 on the solar Richter scale. For those unacquainted with the magnitude of solar flares, it might be difficult to comprehend the extreme force of such an explosion, which is the largest ever recorded in the solar system. Like earthquake, although two scales cannot be satisfactorily compared, this explosion, if transferred to the earthquake scale, would be something like an earthquake of around magnitude 15 on the Richter scale. In other words, an out-of-the-category event, the likes of which has never before been seen or experienced before. However, this event in 2003 was not entirely Earth-directed. It was just barely facing the Earth, so as this thing exploded off the sun and started coming towards the Earth, because the planets revolve around the sun, the Earth was actually mostly out of the way. It just got a tiny little tailpiece of this explosion, is basically what it goes on to say. And we got lucky, basically. It did cause some satellite failures, some communication failures, nothing really huge. And that was like a grazing wound. I mean, barely. Had that been a direct line of sight hit, we probably wouldn't be talking right now. Who knows where technology would be taken to had that actually been a direct hit. So I'm just kind of refreshing your memory here if you don't remember that, because it didn't make that much news simply because it was just barely grazing by, and there's a little few communications satellite problems, nothing real big. The flare itself was enormous, and then it kind of died down, and that was it, and it went relatively back to normal for the last several years until recent times. The chances of having two X-class flares within, say, a 24-hour period, or 2 days, or even 3 days, is probably pretty astronomical, the chances of that. Well, that's exactly what just happened today and yesterday. They were both on the very low side of the X class, but they were X-class flares. The one on the 13th was definitely facing the Earth, which was yesterday, and a solar flare comes off the Earth and then pops off a coronal mass ejection, or CME is what they're called, and that ball of energy, plasma, particles, whatever, flies out in whatever direction it popped off the sun. And our Earth was pretty much lined up at that point, and we're going to take somewhat of a hit. I don't know if it's going to be a direct hit, but again, it's on the very lower side of the X. May not cause any problems. I mean, like nothing. But then we had another one today. So if we had another one today, and we had one yesterday, it's a little cause for alarm. Like, we're not even at the solar maximum yet, which is supposedly sometime between 2012 and 2013, according to scientists. Now that the 11-year solar cycle, sunspot cycle started, it actually started a year later than they anticipated, because the original dates were, sometime between 2011 and 2012 we should hit solar maximum, and the sun should really, take off as far as being violent. And then they revised that because the 11-year solar cycle didn't take place after 2008 like they thought it would. It was about a year later, actually. So they said, okay, well, it happens, so we have to now say it starts now, 11 years from now, which puts it directly at the end of the Mayan calendar, basically, you could say, in that time frame, 2012, 2013, regardless of whether that 2012 has anything to do with it or not. So I saw that and said, pretty darn interesting. And then I saw another video today, which is even more interesting, because it brings up a webbot forecast that I've spoken probably 2 or 3 times on video on YouTube. You can go back and check. I don't recall what the titles might have been yet, or off the top of my head, because I do so many freaking videos. But basically, I'll refresh your memory. And it was 2 different times, but the first video I did was more specific on the webbot hit. The other one, I just kind of mentioned it. But the first one was how the webbot report many, many reports ago said you're going to start to hear about solar energy, solar radiation, sunburning type of energy hitting you. And it's going to cause a problem at high altitudes more so than on the ground. But the ground will be affected too. In other words, people on the ground and plants, crops, that food we eat, yeah, that too was in there, are going to have problems where they start to grow and it looks okay, and then all of a sudden they just wilt over and die. Like, hey, what the hell happened? And it's because there's too much solar radiation, I guess, coming in, according to the webbot at the time. But one of the things it said is that it's going to affect people too. You're going to go outside, and I'll find the damn part of the report if I have to make a second video. But I already remember what it said, basically. You are going to go outside, and you're going to get sunburned so fast, you're going to say, what the F just happened? Like, did I lose track of time? How long have I been outside? Man, I've only been out here 15 minutes, and I'm freaking sunburnt. Whoa, what the hell's going on? That's what was in the report. And it got into a little more detail, saying that it's going to be a cause of concern for people in planes that are traveling at 30 or 40,000 feet or whatever, however high they fly. Because for whatever reason, that radiation's, of course, coming from the sun, outer space to the Earth, comes down, until it finally hits the ground. So it only makes sense, logically speaking, that it's going to hit the upper atmosphere first and then trickle down to the ground. And I did the video because there was a mainstream site that said, we got a report from scientists. Now they're concerned about upper atmosphere, solar radiation, UV light type of stuff, etc. And I went on to read the article and everything else. It was a mainstream site, and it was a mainstream scientific article. That's why I read it, because it wasn't some bozo on a website just talking smack about what he thinks is going to happen. This is backed up. And again, I'm reading from a webbot report that was long ago. And then I said that, wow, there's the first sign. There's the very first little piece of webbot being right. And as I know how a lot of that stuff is, you just get a little taste at first before the rest of the fulfillment of the prophecy, or whatever the hell you want to call it, prediction, ends up coming true. It's like a little precursor, like a little taste. So I got more of the taste today in this video I'm going to show you, which is from a local news station where this took place in America. And it goes along the lines of something like 22 students or something like that went on some kind of little field trip or went outside to do something, and they all got sunburned almost instantly. Within minutes, they were all sunburned. The hair on my skin, on my arms, stood up when I watched this video. Because if you didn't have the webbot report, you would say exactly what they said in the video. We don't, we're looking into this. We don't know what it could have been. Maybe it was some kind of, chemical in the air. Maybe, again, the nonsense, bozo, mainstream media, idiot way of looking at things. Because they don't know these things. They don't study the sun and these kind of things. So you can't blame them for coming up with this nonsense, And they try to be funny, we're burning to find an answer to this question, trying to be cute when people are literally burning and they're, getting sunburnt. They try to throw those little words in the news article like to make themselves look funny. It's just stupid. But anyways, the important thing is that a bunch of kids simultaneously in the same area got sunburned. And I just read the article fairly recently about the scientists causing, have cause for concern now in upper atmosphere conditions, and for pilots who fly every day or constantly, they're going to be the ones who get exposed to it mostly. Same with people who are frequent flyers. That's what the article said. Now we have a thing that just happened as of today, as far as I know. I found the article that it was definitely recently. I didn't look at the actual date of the video because someone put it on YouTube, but I just urgently grabbed it. I had to do a video immediately. So now we're having people getting burned on the ground. They can't explain it. It wasn't one or two people. It was pretty much all of them or most of them in this little area. So this is huge. We have solar flare activity. Again, I don't know what day was forecast for the solar flare to hit Earth. The one that was on the 13th. Today is the 14th, which is about 24 hours later. And again, I don't know when those were scheduled to hit, that particular one. They can come sometimes within hours, sometimes within days, apparently. It just depends on how fast it's coming off the sun for, whatever dictates that. I don't know. So if by chance it's already hitting the Earth, and at the same time these people are getting burned, I think we know the answer to why they got burned. Now, if the solar flare isn't scheduled to hit the Earth yet, the one on the 13th, not the one that happened today, the second one, but the first one, it doesn't really matter because I think we already know the sun is reacting pretty crazy right now. And let me refresh your memory about the most recent Webbot report that I read about the ranking general or whatever, that's going to come out into a press conference. They're thinking he's just going to talk about the old politics and the old nonsense stuff that they're going to expect him to say. And he comes out and says, listen, there's a problem going on with the sun that we don't quite understand yet. It's going to cause some problems, etc., etc., etc. And he goes on to explain why he's worried and why he's concerned. The Webbot doesn't say specifically what he's going to say other than what I just told you. So I'm thinking about that right now as I'm telling you this, as I'm reading that report, Webbot report, as I'm seeing these people burned outside from sunburn within minutes, referring myself back to the old Webbot reports from, almost 2 years ago, whatever the hell it was. Maybe a year ago. Who knows? I don't quite remember. That talked about then too. Specifically exactly what's happening right now. And it's going to, if this is right, let me start by saying that, because I don't want to be an alarmist and then be wrong. I don't want to get people all spooked out and freaked out. But I have to keep things real as I possibly can, using logic, using the things I've studied, etc. And again, they don't call me Dr. Doom for nothing, because if it's doom that I have to bring, but it's real, then I'm going to tell you. I mean, there's no point in telling you everything's fine. Don't look over there. Don't look at that mainstream video I'm about to show you in the local news channel. Don't look at that because it's going to make you upset. Well, you have to look at it, because if you're on that fence saying, you know what, man, I was really thinking about getting that 1 year supply of food, and then you watch this video, and maybe it does frighten you, and you realize, man, this is a lot of interesting stuff Dr. Doom has just told me. I can verify pretty much all of it, because if I want to go buy some older Webbot reports for $10 each, they're there, and you will read it and see it. I already have them, and I'll find out which page they're on, and which report it was in, if you really want to know. It doesn't matter, because I'm telling you, I've read the damn things. It's in there. Anyways, you may be thinking, you know what? I think a 2 year supply of food sounds good. It's income tax time. Most of you are going to get some money back. If you have a credit card and you have credit on it that you can use, go to Costco.com. There's other places you can go to. 1 year supply of food. Right now, it is good for one person, 1 year supply. $1,000. There's another thing, Ecola Blue. E-C-O-L-O, I believe. E-C-O-L-O, I believe is how it's spelled. Ecola Blue. It pulls water right out of the air and filters it between a filter set and a reverse osmosis filter in the center of it also, which is like the finest filtering you can do, known to mankind practically, aside from boiling water and collecting the steam, which is distilling it. This thing can do like 8 gallons a day. I believe it can do more if you had another bladder inside of it. So you could put a bucket inside the thing, an emergency. But 8 gallons of water a day is plenty. You know what I mean? My entire family probably won't drink 8 gallons or 1 gallon of water. We just don't drink a lot, but we do drink water, I don't know, maybe we probably could do a couple gallons, but the other 6 or whatever, 8, 7 gallons, I'll put out there for my hydroponic garden, But anyways, man, this is important. This is a video that if you got somebody you've been trying to tell stuff to, you've been trying to, just look at this, and they're kind of on the fence maybe, or maybe they're not, everything I just told you can be verified right now. And the thing that I'm going to attach to this video are 2 things. One photo that I took off the website, the NASA website, that shows the X-class flare that popped off the sun today. I don't have the one from yesterday, but it can be verified very easily, to show that one happened right after the other, basically within a 24-hour period, I think. I don't know the exact times that they popped off, but it is one day later, so it's within roughly a 24-hour period. That is pretty rare. The scary part about that is we're not even close to the end of 2012, December 2012, which is the highlight of the solar activity, supposedly. And if it is, and we've got 2 X-class flares popping off here in February of 2011, we've got all of 2011, so there's a whole year to go. We've got all of 2012 to go. There's another whole year. That's 2 years, because it's December 21st, 2012 that the Mayan calendar ends, that they talked about the sun getting violent and angry, right? We just think that they like to draw angry suns for some reason, like it's just, some myth, when in fact they're letting you know in advance angry sun is really true, and it's going to be pissed off. It's not going to be angry, it's going to be pissed off, and what that does to you guys, you're not going to like. So all this politics and the Democrats versus the Republicans and the uprisings and this and that and the wars and the economy and the banking and the housing, those are going to be probably so far down at the lowest part of your list of things to worry about. If if we're around in a few years, you'll be laughing at those things, thinking, oh God, we were so worried about that. I was worried about my credit score. I was worried about getting the new big McMansion house and my big job and my big paycheck and this and that. When in fact, you're really going to be concerned about food and pretty much nothing but food and clean water. So again, let's just recap real quick. X-class solar flare yesterday. X-class solar flare today. That's a problem. We have the story that I'm going to post on here about, this is a local news story, not in my area, but I think it said Louisiana if I recall, but I forget. You'll see it in a minute. And I think it was 22 kids, school kids, went outside, got sunburned almost immediately. They're like shocked. We don't know how that happened, blah, blah, blah. Dr. Doom knows how it happened, and I'm telling you now how it happened. It's the sun. And then you take in the kind of woo-woo evidence. Oh, the Webbout report. Oh, that stupid thing. Well, wait a minute. It's not so stupid if it said it way over a year ago. Exactly what you're about to see on this TV news thing I'm about to post for you. Huh. What did the most recent report say that came out a week or 2 ago? Oh, a general is going to come out and talk about issues with the sun that are going to cause problems for life on Earth. And he's going to throw everybody off because nobody is expecting him to come out and talk about that. And he's going to mention how the military or the army is aware of it, and he's going to break the news. So you can add that to this stuff I just told you and say, well, now, But if you don't believe the Webbout report at all and you think it's complete crap, it's okay too, because there's a fact that just happened. X-class flare today, X-class flare yesterday, the news story from today, and the scientific article that I wrote about or did a video about many months ago about the same thing, and the scientists concerned. They weren't reporting on an incident, but they were saying, based off of whatever measurements or studies they're doing, it's going to be a problem and we're concerned about it. Now it has just happened. So, man, that's kind of scary. So I'm going to tell you what the Webbot said, which is crops are going to fail due to the sun. Not only that, look at all the snow that melts and causes all this flooding. We've had Australia get wiped out some of the crops that they, sugar or whatever the hell it was, that they export. Every year they're big-time exporters. Now they are big-time importers because their whole crop season was wiped out. On top of that, you're going to have what looks like an okay season just go kaputs due to the sun problems, according to the Webbot. Is it going to be the summer of 2011? I cannot tell you. I don't know. Is it going to be the summer of 2012? I can't tell you. I don't know, but it might be. And it might be this summer. It's in the immediacy data, which means it's coming very soon. Before it was like, okay, it's in the data, but not the immediacy data. So it's out there, but it's kind of close. And then they will give you a year when they think it's going to happen. 2010, it didn't seem like it happened there. 2011, we're much closer. It may not. Maybe it's next year. What did happen? The stuff I just told you about. The 2 solar flares and the kids getting burned. That happened right now. So if people are getting burned right now in one little spot, is it safe to say that there might be other little spots that are going to get so hot and whatever the hell happens that it cooks the crops? Sure, that would be a pretty safe thing to say or to assume. It's probably going to happen elsewhere. So let me refer you to one more thing, and I actually just talked about this too the other day, which is interesting. I believe in 2008, NASA comes out, there's a hole in the Earth's magnetic field which protects us people and the Earth itself and everything on the Earth from large amounts of solar energy from the sun, including if X-rays and solar flares and stuff pop off and come towards us. And the article went on to say that it's down to 90% weakened. It has lost 90% of its strength since approximately I don't know how they got this data, but since approximately 8,000 or 10,000 years ago or something like that, somewhere between 8 and 10,000 years ago. So they are somehow able to measure it. I don't know if it was from ice core samples. I don't remember, but it was from NASA, not someone's blog. And they said that there's a hole in the magnetic field. That was all they said. Approximately a year and a half later, and I think I might have did a video on this. It probably would have been on Facebook if I did do it. I know I sent out many emails. Not that that matters now. It's irrelevant. But NASA says, hey, yeah, remember that hole in the magnetic field of the Earth we talked about last year? Yeah. Yeah, listen, it's 10 times larger than we first thought. Huh. So you mean to tell me you accidentally made a mistake and something was 10 times larger than you thought? I don't think that's really a mistake, unless NASA said, okay, in 2008 we see this hole in the magnetic field. Cause for concern? Maybe in however many years, we're not sure. And then they reanalyze it again over the next 6 months, 8 months, a year and a half, whatever it was, and then, it wasn't 10 times bigger than they thought. What may have happened was that it was rapidly growing larger and larger during that time period. So the first time they saw it, it was this big. And then a year and a half later when they saw it, it was this big. Or they really did misinterpret it or whatever. But you know how the government works. Lie to the people, skew data, etc., etc. But they do put out the information for us to see. It's a matter of you getting off your lazy ass and going and finding it. If you think Fox News and them is going to tell you this way in advance, I got news for you. Sorry, ain't going to work. So that's another thing that we have to be concerned about. Our magnetic field has lost 90% in the last 8 or 10,000 years. So that means we're more susceptible to solar flares and smaller X-class flares that might do more damage than they normally would a few years ago. Especially if in 2008 the hole was this big, and in 2010 it's this big, and in 2011, or 2012, it's this big. Then what? That leaves a hole wide open, unprotected, and what if by chance that hole, or part of that hole, is how this stuff leaked in today and burned up these kids that got sunburned within minutes? And I remember that Webout report. You are going to see people getting sunburned within minutes. And I'm like, damn. You mean to tell me I'm going to go outside with my little bald head and I'm going to be freaking burned in a few minutes? Because I will burn kind of easy, easier than I guess most people. I'm not exactly the tannest guy in the world, but I'm not pure white either. Although my street name is White Chocolate. No, I'm just kidding. Seriously, this is a video that's important. Send this video of me or whatever, or the data in the video, to people that you need to bring this to their attention. And again, I'm any day now, in the next several days, that direct deposit from the IRS check that I'm getting back for taxes, I already told you what I'm doing with it. Number 1, year supply of food. Number 2, the E. coli blue water thing that pulls water out of thin air, and it's beautiful. Love it. Now, it does have to be plugged in, but Dr. Doom does have solar panels, plenty of solar panels, enough to run that thing for sure, which I think takes 450 watts. I've got 1,600 watts approximately, minus about 20% because you lose that. So I got about 1,100, 1,200 watts. plenty to run that thing. And again, if a big solar flare is coming to Earth, I'm unplugging all my electrical stuff and wrapping tinfoil around all of it to block anything out if at all possible. But you would get a warning, I'm sure, from, we would get a warning. If I see like an X20 something flare, oh, and by the way, it's a direct hit to Earth, like the one in 2003 wasn't. One that big pops off and faces Earth and hits a direct hit, we're in trouble. We're in big trouble. And then I have to tell you now, another thought I'm having is the Webbot saying, oh yeah, we're seeing this data that talks about humanity being brought back to a previous age soon. What could bring humanity back to a previous age? What is the most likely thing? How about the loss of electricity? No electricity, your entire life stops. You think mass producing food and, mass producing anything, forget food, anything. Trucking the gasoline to your gas station, all that stuff, it goes away. We'll be able to rebuild. We're always going to rebuild. It's just a matter of how long will it take to rebuild something when a big accident happens, a big catastrophe happens. I don't know. But for God's sakes, get some kind of food supply going. If you can't afford $1,000, go to Sam's Club or Costco, get you those big 80-pound, 60-pound, 40-pound, 100-pound, whatever it is, bags of rice. You can get big things of beans. You can get these monster-sized cans. I think they're the number 10 size cans of like chili and stuff. Man, you could whip up some stuff for maybe a couple $100 that would really last you a while. Wouldn't be exactly the greatest thing to eat over and over and over again, but for, God's sakes, you're going to starve to death if a big, emergency catastrophe happens, And then we got this thing now all of a sudden they're redoing the emergency broadcast system to now allow and include presidential addresses to the nation during a catastrophe. We had the FEMA thing on their website requesting bids for people to feed 7 million people for, 10 or 14 days or something after a massive catastrophe around the New Madrid area. And then we also had them wanting, I think, someone to make 7 million bottles, 1 liter bottles of water or something like that. Put a bid out there for a water company. This is all weeks ago, just a few weeks ago. And I'm thinking about the giant Webbot tipping point that seemed to be a big letdown that was slated to happen on November 14th, 2010 and last approximately 63 or 65 days, whatever it was, which means it was basically to the end of January, you could say. And we're just we're the 15th of February. And if I go back to the 14th of November to see, we had that missile launch off the coast of California. We had North Korea and South Korea almost start a nuclear war. We had a lot happen in that area, that time frame. And then look at what's going on lately. X-class flares. We've got more problems with the banking system. Now we've got the sunburn thing going on. We've got a lot of stuff going on. While it wasn't one giant event, man, it's hard to write that off as just a big miss when you look at what's happened over the last 60 days, man. You can't even keep up with it. This is just insane. So anyways, that's all I want to tell you. I'm going to post that video of the local news thing along with the little still screenshot that I have that proves the X flare today. And man, that's it. I'm going to put this link on my website, realistnews.net. We can go in there and talk. You guys, maybe if you guys find something else, something similar that happened somewhere else in recent times, let's post it. It's better in a forum than it is on YouTube because your comments on YouTube just get buried and you never even find them. You can have a fantastic comment like, oh, great. Plus, you can't link into YouTube. You can't put links up. You got to rewrite them to make sense. It's just stupid. So a message board, a forum like I've got is perfect. So I'm going to post this video, along with the one I'm attaching to this on my forum. We'll discuss it, talk about it, and go from there. I think a lot's about to happen here shortly. Sun, food, silver, economy, banking. Everything. It is going to be the 2012 event just peeking its head of everything collapsing, everything climaxing, everything coming to an end, basically, as all things do. They have an infinity, the little lifespan, the growth, whatever, maturity, downfall, death, or climax, downfall, death, see ya, gone. Everything's like that. The planet, Earth, the sun, a flower, a seed, a baby, you, me, etc. Therefore, economies, dollars, everything has a cycle too. And as you can see, the dollar is on its way out. Gold and silver are now beginning their cycle to climax. And it's going to be incredible to see where they climax at. The problem is, if there's a food shortage before silver starts taking off, you're going to be upset that you couldn't get a food supply. And I always say, well, if you had silver, it's going to be worth so much money, you're going to be able to get food. The problem is you really need both. I don't know if I'd worry about the water thing yet. In my opinion, I would go with the food supply, as much as you can get. First, second, silver, and then third, maybe that E. coli blue thing. I don't know. I mean, you can switch that order around. You're going to need a gun to protect your family. I mean, the people to be concerned about are the people who didn't know about this, who refused to listen to this, and are now going to be woken up really quick with reality. I mean, real quick. Those are the people you're going to have to worry about. So, it's not going to be people like me and like you who prepared for this, going down into the street trying to find other people to break into. We're not, that's just not how we're going to roll. We're going to have to protect ourselves, because we're the I told you so bunch. Which I'm not proud of. I'm not glad I'm going to have to tell people that. I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. Why didn't you do that? Why are you giving your church? My sister, Andrea, why are you giving your church 10% of your income for God knows how many years now? Free of charge. Well, we know they're going to do good with it. Really? But there's a Catholic church, a monster-sized Catholic church right down the street here from me. And the next video I'm going to try to do is going to be on a Sunday, where you can see a homeless person or persons at the end of the driveway by the road where all the cars exit to leave after they're done giving their money to the church, in which they think the church is going to give that money to homeless people and helpless people who need it, when in fact there's a live person out there right now, buddy. Why don't you save a couple of dollars instead of putting in that basket that goes to the pedophiles in the Vatican and the pedophile pope, and instead give it to someone out there right now who needs it? They're standing out there on purpose because they know this is a church. I'm a homeless person. Churches give. People give. Maybe I'll get lucky here. More lucky than on the corner of the traffic light. And I've sat there watching that nobody gives them any money. Gives them nothing. Even female bums. Homeless people, I should say. Because you don't know their story. So we're not going to call them bums. Female homeless people standing out there. Sorry about your luck. Don't even stare at them. Just keep going. Traffic. Okay, go. Don't even pay attention to them. But you're giving your money away to the church because you think they're doing good with it. If you think they're doing good with it, as much money as these churches have, all denominations of religions, different ones, why are so many people across the world starving to death, living on $2 US dollars a day? I mean, come on. That's a whole nother video. But anyways, that's all I got for you. I'm attaching the video right now. It's only a few minutes, man. You know, you need to start doing something. This is no more just talking and feeling good and okay, I'm awake. You can be awake as you want. If you don't do anything, you're just as dumb as the next guy. If you can't do something, man, at least you have the knowledge so that when stuff starts going down, you'll be able to communicate with your neighbors. They're going to look at you like, hey, this freaking guy knows what he's talking about. This person knows. Okay, let's listen to him. And the next thing you know, when your neighbors can get food or whatever they got going on, they're going to invite you in and say, well, you know, what do you think is going to happen next? Why do you think this is happening? Why is that doing that? You're going to have all the answers that they don't have, that they can't get. So you'll be useful in not the sense that you have a lot of food storage or something, but the sense that they've got the food, you've got the knowledge. Hey, works out perfectly. Anyways, that's it. I'm going to attach the video. Talk to you guys later.
Students come home in the middle of February with what looks like a sunburn. Now parents and teachers want to know how it happened. KATC's Sean Klein was in Hathaway tonight looking for answers to that burning question.
A mystery in the community of Hathaway, and it has people burning to know the answers.
I don't know what caused it.
We just kept trying to find answers.
About 24 Hathaway High School students came back from a field trip with what appears to be a sunburn. The mystery is the students and teachers don't know what caused it.
We have no idea.
It's very bizarre. It's something that we need to be really concerned about.
Grasping at straws, trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together.
The first stop on the field trip was a school conference in rain at the Civic Center, but only Hathaway High School students have these burn symptoms.
It looked more like a flash burn, or something that someone would experience inside of a tanning bed.
The students then stopped at a fast food restaurant in Crowley before heading home. School officials say it could have been the lighting, allergic reactions, or even chemicals.
Something caused it, and I'd like to know what it was.
But right now, they just don't know. In Hathaway, Sean Klein, KATC TV.